Nowadays, finding love can be hard, and for many reasons. You might be getting swamped with work or school and simply just don't have the time to commit to a relationship. Maybe you're trying to find that perfect person, and after countless dates, you feel like you just don't connect with anyone as well as you'd like to. Hell, maybe you do eventually find that perfect someone, only to find out they live 2,000 miles away in a completely different country. Or, even worse, you find out they're incredibly racist and play Valorant all day. Actually, most of you guys want this, you sick bastards. And maybe, just maybe, you're not able to find love because you're a trained assassin being held prisoner by the Japanese government and forced to fight off hitmen targeting the kindergarten you work at, with connections to the outside world being strictly prohibited, or else you'll get executed. Something we could all relate to. This exact predicament is what Rita, the main protagonist of Kindergarten Wars, finds herself in. Groomed from the moment she was able to take her first steps into becoming an unstoppable killing machine known as the Witch, she's absolutely clueless when it comes to love or just genuine human interaction in general, as she's only known death her whole life. Yet, despite the fact her life is basically forfeit, Rita sees this as a second chance at life, hoping to find her special someone. If you're wondering why I'm talking about love and romance so much, it's because I'm lonely and desperately crave the touch of a woman. And also because Kindergarten Wars is essentially equal parts rom-com and action. In recent years, it seems like shonen's new trend is romance-oriented battle manga, with series like Dandadan, Make the Exorcist Fall in Love, and Marriage Toxin all having a heavy emphasis on the love lives of the main characters, either attempting to find love between one another like Dandadan and Make the Exorcist Fall in Love, or for one another like Marriage Toxin. And perhaps the even more noticeable trend is battle manga centering around absurdly strong hitmen beating the absolute piss out of one another, with series like Sakamoto Days, Mission Yozakura Family, Kill Blue, and Akabane Honeko's Bodyguards being the most obvious examples of this. And Kindergarten Wars is essentially a blend of these two trends, as it's not only about absurdly strong hitmen beating the absolute piss out of one another, but the main goal of our protagonist is to find love, in comedic fashion. And with that in mind, it's no wonder the series is selling so well, with it having the highest first volume sales out of any manga in the entirety of 2023, and needing to be reprinted 5 separate times, and having just recently surpassed 1 million copies in total across all volumes. Yet, despite its financial success, it almost feels like Kindergarten Wars has gone completely under the radar. But what if I were to tell you it's actually the best battle shonen currently running? Okay, that title actually belongs to Dandadan for me, but it's definitely close. And yes, that means it's also better than Jujutsu Kaisen. Fight me. And if it ever gets an anime adaptation, which it will, it has the potential to be something even more special than what it already is, and I promise that it has a lot going for it. If it isn't obvious already, Kindergarten Wars has a rather unique premise, as it's about the most skilled ex-criminals defending a kindergarten housing the children of the most valuable people across the globe, like political figures and world leaders, against hitmen that are after the bounties on their head. What makes this setup even more fun is that Rita is a touch-starved femcel who desperately yearns for a lover, with her ultimate goal for the series being to find a super hot boyfriend. Unfortunately for her, basically every hitman that gets sent her way is a super hot guy, meaning that she has to make a decision as to whether to spare them and date her dream boyfriend, or kill them for threatening the lives of her students. And she makes these decisions by asking them their preferences. Do they leave the movie theater while the credits are rolling? Yes. Shoot them in the face. Do they eat the meat first when they chow down on a bowl of ramen? They do? Slash their neck open. Do they even like going to ramen shops to begin with? No. hit them in the face with weights so hard they die instantly. This is a recurring bit in the series, and it's one I find hilarious every single time. And honestly, one of the best parts about Kindergarten Wars is its comedy. Yu Chiba, the mangaka, is rather addicted to doing the same bits over and over, testing how much he can expand on one joke before it gets old. Some examples include Rita's look of regret after instinctively killing the hot hitman, characters going on rants so long they give Rentaro from 100 Girlfriends a run for his money, as well as the main cast of characters getting the tables turned on them and getting punched into the ground so hard there's an explosion after they themselves have awful preferences. Repetition is key in Kindergarten Wars, as what makes these jokes hit as hard as they do is the fact that they constantly happen. The repetitive nature probably sounds like a detriment on paper, but it's actually one of its biggest strengths, as these gags often end up getting flipped on their head to demonstrate a tragic truth of a character. Cue the sad music. Rita's entire bit about wanting to find a boyfriend isn't just for the sake of comedy, as we eventually come to realize that she's completely alone and desperately wants to be loved by someone and give her life meaning beyond taking the lives of others. And what makes this moment hit as hard as it does is the fact that it recontextualizes what we previously already knew. It's basically how the characters, or rather Yu Chiba, disguises their trauma, constantly reminding us of what they yearn for without bashing us over the head with melodrama. It's kinda like how edgelords say,
"Dark humor is my coping mechanism. Stay mad, loser."
except it's actually funny when Kindergarten Wars does it. Okay, the sad segment's over, we can bring the happy music back now. Beyond how it handles its writing, Kindergarten Wars is pretty killer in the art department. Fitting with the name, the characters very often end up being drawn crudely or with an extremely cutesy style to them, giving off the vibe that a kindergartner is drawing the manga, and constantly reminding you of the setting the story takes place in, which is in direct contrast to the hyper-violent narrative that accompanies it. And as I've already mentioned, Kindergarten Wars is all about repetition, and that couldn't be more true with its artwork and how it presents itself. Take this panel of hitmen getting their heads sliced off. It's from the beginning of a chapter, and as you progress through it, the amount of hitmen getting their heads sliced off grows. And grows some more. And keeps growing until it becomes almost overwhelming to look at, which is to of course demonstrate the sheer amount of lives this character has taken. It's visual storytelling. Instead of having them simply tell us how many people they've killed, we're given multiple pages of each and every person she's murdered instead, who are all individually drawn, mind you. They're not just copy and pasted. I may have gotten off track here, but I just really enjoy the way it structures itself both narratively and artistically. It manages to give a degree of innocence to these ruthless killing machines, both in how they're written and the way they're drawn, giving Kindergarten Wars a very unique style that can't really be found anywhere else. It's got all the best qualities of battle shonens like the over-the-top fights and action set pieces while being genuinely hilarious, heartwarming, and downright depressing at times. Yet it never loses its upbeat charm to make sure things never get too heavy. I really can't recommend Kindergarten Wars enough. I promise that it's worth the read, even if you think I spoiled a lot of it already. I didn't really spoil a lot of it, but who knows? And let me know your thoughts if you've checked out Kindergarten Wars out of either your own free will or because of me. I always read the comments, and I'd love to hear your opinions. Unless you think it's bad, then fuck you. Subscribe to me though.